Vice Admiral Seiichi Ito watches his radar screen fill with contacts. At first there are just a few, but then, honestly, there are dozens, until the screen is just completely crowded. Each one of them is an aircraft closing fast on Okinawa. The leader then clenches his fist. He warned Tokyo that sending the battleship Yamato here without air cover would leave her completely exposed. Now, no less than 300 American aircraft begin their dives. Still, he has 9 of the largest main guns ever mounted on a warship, and Yamato keeps driving toward a coastline where the ship herself will stop, but the guns will not. By mid-December 1941, the Pacific Theater was in full swing. All across the ocean, Japanese forces were advancing, and American bases were burning, leaving governments scrambling. But at the naval port of Kure, on the southern coast of Japan's main island, something very different was taking place. On the 16th, the Imperial Japanese Navy commissioned their latest battleship, with no public speeches and no visiting dignitaries. The brief ceremony unfolded in the utmost of secrecy. Not even the shipyard workers who had spent years building her knew the vessel's name, until well after the commissioning flag was raised and painted characters appeared on her stern. She was Yamato, the largest battleship ever built. Knowing they were no match for America's technology, Japan's strategy was to build fewer ships, but make each one powerful enough to overpower anything they encountered. As such, the Yamato-class battleships had an overall length of 862 feet, and a fully loaded displacement of 72,800 long tons. By comparison, though the brand new US Navy Iowa-class battleships stretched a bit longer at 887 feet, they displaced a mere 45,000 tons. According to former sailor Naoyoshi Ishida, upon seeing the ship he'd be living in, his initial thought was, "How huge it is." When you walk inside, there are arrows telling you which direction is the front and which is the back, otherwise you can't tell. Undoubtedly, the most defining feature of the battleship was her main battery, 9 18-inch guns mounted in 3 turrets, so large each was as heavy as a large type destroyer. The Iowa-class battleships fired 16-inch shells weighing 2,200 pounds, but Yamato's projectiles weighed 3,200 pounds. Those extra 2 inches of diameter resulted in shells so powerful and massive that they could punch through any kind of armor. Furthermore, the vessel's unique design even included protection against catastrophic flooding. Even with the unarmored bow and stern sections flooded completely, Yamato could theoretically remain stable until listing past 20 degrees. Sister ship Musashi followed Yamato on August 5, 1942, with plans for additional ships already on the drawing board. However, the massive duo consumed fuel at rates Japan's tanker fleet could barely sustain, and, smaller ships were needed for convoy escorts and day-to-day operations. Most importantly, both ships represented national prestige in ways that made losing either one just unthinkable to the Naval General Staff. Because of this, Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto, Commander-in-Chief of the Combined Fleet, kept Yamato as his flagship, but showed no willingness to risk her in battle. That caution was on display at Midway in June 1942, where Yamato served as the leader's command ship but never actually came within range of the disastrous battle. As a result, cruiser and destroyer crews who watched the battleship swing at anchor in Truk Lagoon while they sailed out to fight gave her a new name, Hotel Yamato. For the better part of 2 years, Yamato remained anchored in the turquoise-blue waters of Truk. While the Solomon Islands campaign raged to the south, time and time again, destroyers and cruisers raced out to support the fighting, then returned destroyed, or, failed to even come back. Through it all, Yamato's paint stayed fresh. On Christmas Day, 1943, Yamato at last departed port, led by Captain Chiaki Matsuda, on a mission to ferry troops and equipment toward Japan. As she steamed through Pacific swells at 18 knots, lookouts scanned the horizon for periscope wakes. And just about 180 miles from Yokosuka, submarine USS Skate had been waiting for this very moment. Below the water, clever Commander Eugene McKinney closely tracked the enemy formation through his periscope for over an hour, watching a pagoda mast climb above the horizon that looked way too massive to belong to any battleship he'd seen in his many years of war. Once in his sights, at noon, Skate fired a series of torpedoes. The weapons left their tubes in quick succession, moving 3 times faster than their targets, though 3 missed, crossing ahead and astern of the target. The 4th closed the distance in 90 seconds. Just past 12:05 p.m., the torpedo slammed into Yamato's starboard side toward the stern. The explosion sent a shudder through the entire hull, felt by every man aboard from the bridge to the engine rooms 4 decks below. The blast tore a hole 80 feet across, causing steel plates to buckle. Seawater poured into the upper magazine for the rear turret, flooding the compartment in seconds. Reacting swiftly, damage control parties raced aft through passageways, sealing hatches and shoring bulkheads as fast as they could, all while they felt the ocean wetting their ankles, then their knees. By the time all the breaches were contained and the stern riding noticeably lower, Yamato, the pride of the Japanese Navy, had taken on 3,000 tons of water. By the time she returned from repairs in the spring, the remodeled ship departed Kure to join Vice Admiral Jisaburo Ozawa's mobile fleet at Tawi-Tawi to sail with Japan's remaining carrier force toward the Marianas, in what planners hoped would be the decisive battle to stop the American advance. The Philippine Sea.